There's four problems that get most business owners paralyzed at any level. And it's the most at, I would say, sub 10 million, but it can really happen at any level. So one is they misprice or they mispay. So they have a compensation structure in place that doesn't make sense and it's locked. This is especially important with service businesses because it's like, well, I have this whole team of talent, but I give them a 50% rev share on the business. It's like, that's tough. It's hard to scale that. On the flip side, you're mispriced where it's like, hey, we're at full capacity, but we're not making money. It's like, you're mispriced. You need to be able, like, if you're at full capacity, you need to have a higher price. You should be able to make money at that point. The second problem is over expansion. So they try to get too big too fast because they have some sort of ego need to like get bigger because they do that. And so what happens is they don't backfill. And so rather than delegate, they abdicate. And so the easiest litmus test of that is when you give something to somebody else, does it get worse? If it gets worse, you abdicate it. If it continues to operate and then gets better, you delegate it. You taught them how to do it properly. But that takes work and it takes patience and most people don't have it. And so they can force the growth on the sales side and then they hire bad people or they don't train the people well. And then their reputation goes down because the delivery is not as good. And then they have to keep selling and marketing to pay payroll, but they don't have time to come back and train because they have to keep the lights on, so they keep marketing. So all of these are rock and hard place scenarios. Like, what do I do with the team when I overpay them? But if I let them go, then I'm going to start at zero. So each of these has these like very hard decisions on both sides. The third big mistake that people make is they don't focus. And that's the one that you're talking about, which is do I start a new business? Do I fix the business I'm at? And the woman in the red dress is always my joke, but the new opportunity always looks more interesting, which is why it's so compelling as a sales pitch. Is like most sales pitches are red women in the red dress. And you do it that way because that's what convinces the most people.
I teach that.
Of course. That's what convinces the most people to switch opportunities because you say, if you only knew, it's so much easier over here, right? But the reality is that all businesses have difficulty. It's just what difficulty you want. And so different styles of businesses have difficulties at different stages. So like information businesses, for example, are the easiest businesses to start, hardest to scale. Software businesses are the hardest businesses to start, the easiest to scale. E-commerce is somewhere in the middle, right? You have to have capital, but then they have logistics, supply chain issues on the back end. So like there's kind of difficulties on both sides. And so every type of business, service, for example, easy to start, harder to scale. You can scale, it just takes longer because you have to train people and recruit people, and people are the business. And so like there's always difficulty with whatever business you have. And what happens is when you switch opportunities, you then start at zero, you quickly get success because you pass the levels you already know, but then you run into the same boss again. And so what ends up happening is now you have two businesses you're CEO of because you couldn't end the other one because you still need to live. And then you start this other one. And so maybe this is the better opportunity, but you still have this old one. And then you can't give it up because you're like, but I have customers and I have to keep my promises there. And what do I do about my team? And there's all these questions that surround that, which is why you can own as many businesses as you want, but you can only run one. And that's the thing that everyone messes up. And especially if you're small, you don't have the resources to run to. So you have to make the hard decision. You have to say, no, I'm going to continue to fix this because it's my belief that every business can get to $100 million a year. Every business.
Even solopreneur?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say the solopreneur is an organizational structure, not a business. So whatever business that solopreneur is in, if they sell wallets, if they sell paintings, whatever it is that you sell, you could sell $100 million worth of it. Like, I can't think of a business. Now, if you're like, well, you can't say that for a local dry cleaner. So I'm like, yeah, then you open more. But I consider that still the same business, right? And so the question then remains, why isn't your business a $100 million business? And whatever the answer to that question is the problem you need to solve. And if you don't know how to solve it, which is what most entrepreneurs are faced with, they then think, oh, it's not me, it's the business. It's the industry, it's the market, it's the vehicle, right? And sometimes I regret that I talked about how switching opportunity vehicles, because like if I had played out the other alternative, I'd probably have 200, 300 gyms right now, and I'd still be just as rich. And so maybe I make less money now than I would if I had stuck with it. I don't know. And we can never know. But I can say that the equal opposite of that is if you do one thing for 50 years and you get better at it, you're probably going to make a lot of money.